Привет всем. Hi everyone. Меня зовут Ари, и я голландец. My name is Ari and I'm Dutch. Это значит, что русский язык не мой родной язык. Means that Russian is not my native language. И я его уже около 5 лет изучаю, и сейчас могу разговаривать о многих разных темах. I'm already learning it for 5 years, and now I can speak about a lot of different topics. В этом видео я хочу с вами разговаривать о 3 причинах, почему вам не нужно сосредоточиться на русскую грамматику в начале вашего изучения русского языка. So in this video I want to talk about 3 reasons why you shouldn't focus on Russian grammar in the beginning of you learning Russian. And the first reason is that, this is the main important reason, is because speaking is more important. If you focus on speaking, the grammar will kind of fall by the wayside. But a problem that, because speaking is more important, if you put all your attention on speaking and none of your attention on grammar, you will learn some grammar anyway, because that's just the reason, the way speaking works. And speaking in the end is the main goal for most people, but it just gets kind of confused by language schools or people using like the old school methods of learning a language, where in the beginning they just put a lot of grammar, they throw it at you, and then, all right, this is important. So if you focus on speaking, all the other things will fall on their places. That's not to say to never pay any attention to grammar, but we'll talk about that a little later. So the first reason is speaking is more important than grammar. Focus on speaking and grammar will fix itself. The second reason is that you kind of learn grammar on autopilot, even if you don't put too much effort into it. That's not to say to never put effort into it, but if you focus on speaking, like I said, you will find specific situations where you try to say something, but you don't know how to exactly say it correctly, and then you look back on the grammar that you need in order to say it correctly. So if you just follow the speaking route, then you will be learning grammar on autopilot. And another thing is, if you just take any good course, any good Russian course, they will teach you, an example is, for example, Russian PAL 101. In each lesson, you learn conversational Russian, you also learn some new words, and you learn a little bit of new grammar. So if you just listen to one of those programs, or Michel Thomas Russian, every day for 10-20 minutes, you will learn a lot of grammar automatically anyway. So why specifically put a lot of effort on grammar? And another good reason why not to focus on Russian grammar in the beginning is because it can be very overwhelming. I know one guy here in Holland who wanted to learn Russian, and he went to classes. And in the first class, they already gave him so much, they already started talking about all the 6 Russian cases that he needed to learn, and that he needed to learn different endings for the nouns, different endings for the adjectives, and also talking about the verbs that they change for everything. And of course, if that's one of the first things you hear in the first couple of hours of you wanting to learn Russian, you're going to become overwhelmed, because it seems like, wow, I need to learn so much in order to speak. And I only know this much at the moment, or almost nothing. It's going to take years before I know this. And if you're overwhelmed in the beginning, then chances are very high that you will feel demotivated. And if you're demotivated to learning Russian, then it's going to become very difficult to continue. And most of the time, those people that are overwhelmed in the beginning, they just quit after a couple of lessons, because they're like, wow, there's so much to learn and I'm never going to learn this, so why even bother? That's why it's very good to not focus on grammar in the beginning and just let it flow freely. Some tips for learning grammar are, like I said, if you focus on speaking, you will encounter situations. Anyway, it's pretty much the recap of everything. Focus on speaking, because that way the grammar aspects that will come, you will want to learn them. Because if you start with grammar, then things become boring quickly, because you don't know what to use this for. Like, you learn a new case and you're like, all right, so in theory I get that the dative case should be used for мне нравится or я дам тебе. But you don't really know how to speak yet, so it's kind of useless. Whereas if you know how to speak, in the beginning you're, for example, saying, I want to give you something, я хочу дать ты кое-что. Then of course it's wrong and people will look at you weird, but then you're like, oh, I should say я хочу дать тебе кое-что. Then suddenly becomes way more interesting, because you learn one little piece of grammar and you can apply it right away, because you already know how to speak. So the second thing is, yeah, you learn it on autopilot anyway, especially if you take a random good course. And the last thing is, don't make it too overwhelming for yourself because you'll lose motivation. And the best way to learn Russian is to kind of forget about the big picture and just focus on taking little steps every single day to become a little bit better and that build on each other. So don't learn all the grammar at once. Focus first on the nominative case, then on the prepositional case, then on the accusative case, and focus every time a couple of weeks on it to really step by step so you can take the information in well and apply it right away into your speech. All right, short video. If you want to learn more about how to apply all these stuff, like my system on how to learn Russian, you can go to my site, learntherussianlanguage.com below. And there is a free email course that teaches you how to, the basics of becoming conversational in Russian in 6 months. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Пока-пока.